My sister-in-law, let's call her Sarah, was getting married, and I was meeting her for the very first time. Now, my wife had told me stories. Wonderful, colorful stories. Apparently, Sarah was a bit of a character. She had a tendency to look down on people, especially if she thought they weren't on her intellectual or financial level. My wife, bless her heart, was a little worried about how Sarah would treat me, knowing I came from a humble background and worked a simple, hands-on job as a custom furniture maker. So, we hatched a plan. A slightly mischievous, but ultimately harmless plan. I was going to lean into her potential prejudice. I decided to play the part of a complete and utter simpleton. The big day arrived. It was a lavish affair at a countryside mansion. I put on my best ill-fitting suit, messed up my hair just so, and practiced a vacant, mouth slightly agape expression in the car. My wife was trying so hard not to laugh she was practically vibrating. We walked in, and there she was, the bride, looking radiant but with eyes that scanned everyone like a barcode reader. My wife introduced us. "Sarah, this is my husband, Mark." I stuck out my hand, a little too eagerly. "Howdy. Wow, this place is real fancy. You must be rich." My voice was a good octave higher than usual. Sarah's perfectly sculpted smile tightened just a fraction. She gave my hand a limp two-finger shake. "A pleasure," she said, her tone dripping with condescension. "Yes, we've done quite well for ourselves." Throughout the cocktail hour, I was on my best, or should I say worst, behavior. When someone mentioned the stock market, I asked if it was like a farmer's market, but for socks. When the conversation turned to art, I pointed at a priceless abstract painting and loudly declared that my nephew could do better with finger paints. With every idiotic comment, I could see Sarah's nostrils flare. She'd exchanged knowing glances with her new husband, who looked equally unimpressed. She'd pat my arm and say things like, "Oh, you're just so quaint," or "Bless your heart." My wife was a master of disguise, pretending to be mortified, whispering apologies to her sister while secretly kicking me under the table in amusement. The reception dinner was the main event. I was strategically seated at the fun table, far away from the head table, with distant cousins and a few of the groom's rowdy college friends. But my moment to shine, or rather, to spectacularly fail, was coming. The speeches. The best man gave a funny, heartfelt speech. The maid of honor, my wife, gave a beautiful, touching tribute that brought a tear to everyone's eye. Then, Sarah's new father-in-law, a stern, wealthy-looking man named Mr. Harrison, stood up. He talked about welcoming Sarah into their family, about her intelligence, her ambition. And then he said something that made my ears perk up. He mentioned the new company he was launching, a high-end, bespoke interior design firm. He spoke of needing a lead artisan, someone with a unique vision and unparalleled skill in woodworking, to create exclusive furniture lines. He lamented how hard it was to find true craftsmen these days, people with soul in their work. He said he'd been searching for months, looking at portfolios from all over the country, but hadn't found the right fit. A little smile played on my lips. My wife caught my eye from across the room and gave me the tiniest, almost imperceptible nod. It was time. After the speeches, and during the cake cutting, I saw my opportunity. Mr. Harrison was standing alone for a moment, looking out over the party. I ambled over, still in character. "Excuse me, Mr. Moneybags," I said, giving him a clumsy pat on the back. He stiffened, turning to look down his nose at me. "It's Mr. Harrison," he corrected, his voice frosty. "Can I help you?" "Yeah, I heard you talking about wood," I said, my voice full of goofy enthusiasm. "I like wood. I whittle sometimes. Made a real nice-looking squirrel once. It only had 3 legs, but the tail was super bushy." Mr. Harrison stared at me as if I'd just started speaking another language. "That's nice," he said, already looking for an escape. But before he could turn away, My wife and Sarah walked over. "Everything all right over here?" Sarah asked, her voice oozing fake concern, clearly expecting me to be embarrassing the family. "Your brother-in-law was just telling me about his whittling," Mr. Harrison said, the corner of his mouth twitching in a suppressed smirk. Sarah sighed dramatically. "Oh, Mark. Please don't bother Mr. Harrison with your little hobbies." She turned to her father-in-law. "I'm so sorry. He's very simple." That was my cue. I dropped the accent. My posture straightened. The vacant look in my eyes was replaced with a clear, focused intelligence. I looked directly at Mr. Harrison, and my voice returned to its normal, confident pitch. "Actually, Mr. Harrison, whittling is just a small part of it. My little hobby, as Sarah calls it, is my profession. I'm the owner and lead designer at Artisan's Mark, the custom furniture studio." A flicker of recognition crossed Mr. Harrison's face. "Artisan's Mark? I've seen your portfolio. Your work is extraordinary. That dovetail joinery on your River's Edge table is museum quality. I've been trying to get a meeting with you for a month, but your assistant said you were fully booked." The silence that followed was deafening. Sarah's jaw, which had been set in a smug line, literally dropped open. Her perfectly applied makeup couldn't hide the shades of red and white that washed over her face. She looked from Mr. Harrison to me, then to my wife, who was now grinning from ear to ear. You're Artisan's Mark?" she stammered. I gave her a warm, genuine smile. "The one and only. It's a pleasure to finally meet you properly, Sarah. And Mr. Harrison, I believe my schedule just opened up. Let's talk on Monday." I turned back to Sarah, whose face was a priceless picture of shock and humiliation. "You know, Sarah," I said gently, "my wife told me you were worried I wouldn't fit in. I guess you were right. I don't fit into the little box you tried to put me in." I reached out and took my wife's hand. "But I do fit in perfectly right here." The rest of the evening was interesting. Sarah avoided me like the plague, and Mr. Harrison spent a good 20 minutes enthusiastically discussing a potential partnership. The best part, though, was seeing the look on my wife's face, a mix of pride, love, and pure, unadulterated, "I told you so." We danced the night away, and I learned a valuable lesson. Sometimes, the best way to deal with people's prejudices is to let them build the entire stage, and then you just show up and steal the show. Thanks so much for hanging out and listening to my story. It just goes to show you should never, ever judge a book by its cover. If you enjoyed this, please hit that like button and consider subscribing for more tales from my life. We'll see you in the next one.